What do you think we should know about this one?
Well, it's a different company than the others, than the ride-hailing companies. It's actually a really interesting company. It's advertising-based in a lot of ways. It's a different type of company, and actually, I always thought that Pinterest would get sold to like a Google or an Amazon, and it still might in the future. But it's a little different, a little less showy, a little less out there. This drop in valuation, I think, reflects how people feel about these unprofitable companies going public and how profitable they can be. I think they're losing, there's almost $750 million in revenue and then losing $68 million or something like that, something in that range. It's not as bad as the car sharing companies, but it still reflects how do you get to these massive valuations that have been made previous on the great hopes of these things.
You've had Ben at Recode, or at the Code conference, I think, in recent years. How do you think he will act as a spokesperson for this company in public life?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. He's very shy. He's a shy person, and I don't mean to say he's not articulate about his company and he can't talk about it and he can't explain it, but he's kind of brainy, he's shy. He doesn't seek the limelight like a lot of the others do. He's not someone he's not unfriendly, but I'd be interested to see how investors look at him. I don't say he's the reluctant CEO, but he's very measured and very mature, and so it's a very different personality. So it'll be interesting to see what investors think of him. But he's certainly, done a nice job in growing this thing to the size it is, of course.
Kara, I feel like the hype cycle has moved the opposite way on Pinterest than it did on Lyft. A couple years ago, the rap on Lyft was, oh, they're going to get steamrolled by Uber. They're a number two. They're never going anywhere. And yet, when that IPO came up, people were so excited about it. Pinterest, on the other hand, was always this online property that was serving this underserved group, largely women in the middle of America. And yet, its valuation seems to have come down. Could people be maybe underestimating Pinterest? How do you think the dynamic of how Lyft has performed might be affecting the way that this is coming to market?
Well, it's a really interesting business. You're right. They don't look at it the same. It's not just in the Midwest. It's all over the place. But I mean, it's a confusing business to explain to people. Car hailing makes sense. Like, oh, you get in the car and you make money from that. This is a really sophisticated and interesting business that's hard to understand. It also faces pressures from a Google or some others, and so you have to wonder how big it can get. And I think that's probably the worry that investors have, is how big can this get? And it does fit in nicely with an Amazon. It's a kind of a marketing vehicle in a lot of ways. Sort of like the ads of a magazine gone digital. It's an interesting thing. And the question is, where can they see growth? Where can they do adjacencies? Could they do sales of things that are on Pinterest? And so that's the kind of stuff, if I was an investor, I'd want to know what is the next version of their business. Because then it can only stay a certain size at some point. You don't see it getting bigger than that. And so I think they haven't articulated that well enough to investors. Or maybe they just want to be under, they want to do really well on the first day as opposed to getting people too hyped up. And that's very much like Ben. He's not a hyped person. So I'm not surprised this is not a hyped IPO.
Yeah, you just sort of hit the nail on the head for me, Kara, when you talked about the possibility of sales through the site, because that to me almost seems like it's the holy grail for a company like Pinterest, for people to be able to purchase what they're seeing put on all the boards on the website. Do you think that is in the cards for Pinterest? And if so, I mean, we're talking so much about path to profitability in terms of Lyft and these other IPOs that are expected this year. Is this really the message for investors when this comes to market next week?
I think the message is how big could it get, and if you can't envision what else it could do, such as things like that, because it runs smack into Amazon, then it runs smack into Google, it runs into a lot of companies that do what they do really well. And you remember what happened to Groupon? Like it was similar but not the same. It was this kind of idea of marketing things, and this is these are message boards. These are essentially pin boards where people put up stuff, and it does have a lot of e-commerce possibilities, and they've been trying different things over the years. But it's interesting that they priced it below. I think they want to just make sure that they don't have a thing where it wouldn't go very far up and then it would actually go down. And so I think that's probably smart on their part to be conservative here. And it's, again, in line with the ethos of the company.
Interestingly, Pinterest had moved toward being a little bit more of a retailer, doing buyable pins, and then backed away from that. They don't want to be in that business as much. Another difference with this company is on the founder control. They have set up some mechanisms around that. Yeah, there are a couple different classes of shares, but not to be held in perpetuity. Even Ben Silbermann has to remain involved in the company, actively involved, not sell a bunch of shares in order to maintain that voting power.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. It's smart. Again, it's very much in line with Ben. He's just not he's not someone that's sort of, if you meet him, you're sort of like, why does he even want to be CEO? You know what I mean? Like, he's very thoughtful. He does things like this. He's very analytical. I'd be interested to see how he does with investors. I'm not going to be in any of those rooms, but I think it would be he's not easy to interview, although I really do enjoy talking to him. I do enjoy talking to him away from the spotlight. He's more interesting out of the spotlight than in the spotlight, which is just kind of odd.
His interview with you on stage was memorable for that very reason. We'll see how it goes.